Hello, I'm Todd Phillips, the editor of Canadian Auto Dealer. We're here today with Andrew Rains, the Chief Commercial Officer for AutomotiveMastermind. It's a company that provides a lot of services to dealers, helping them with predictive analytics and managing their sales and inbound leads. But Andrew, during this pandemic, your company has really been providing a tremendous amount of resources to dealers. But first of all, I want to hear, what are you hearing from your dealer customers in the midst of this pandemic and how they're coping?
Well, first of all, Todd, thank you very much for having me on today. Look forward to having a great conversation with you. First and foremost, what we did at Mastermind is that we set out the goal that during these unprecedented times, we were going to add an attempt to add more value to our customers during COVID than any of their other partners. And so that's been our, really our number one goal as we went through this process. And so we felt like it was very important for us to hear from the market. And so we quickly put together a COVID dealer advisory council of 10 customers. And we've met with them every single week. And they're spread out across North America. And so we've been hearing from them. And so, as the shutdowns happened in the United States, it really went state by state. And so the Northeast was hit really hard. And those dealers were some of the first to be impacted, started having to have furloughs and layoffs, started spreading across the United States. There's some parts of the country that have not been as impacted, but let's start with the ones that have been heavily impacted. So, they have been able to start selling virtually. And so what we did at Mastermind was allow them to have access to our technology. So to know who to contact, what to say, and they've really been figuring out how to work in a remote environment. Other parts of the country have been less impacted, and so they've been able to stay a little bit more on the offense and really trying to take care of their customers and keeping the dealerships open.
Well, one of the things it's a great strategy in terms of dealers right now. We're finding they're struggling to maintain their operations, manage the different regulations. Different governments have shutdowns that seem to alternate between only open for sales, only open for service, back and forth. So it's a scramble for them to keep how many staff they can keep on and manage this. So I noticed one of the things you had on your resources page was a shutdown checklist for dealers. These are things you need to think about because really for most dealers, there's no playbook for anything like this on this scale. And so, those kind of resources working with dealer partners are very helpful at this time. In fact, we promoted some of them on the Canadian Auto Dealer website. So tell us a bit about some of the, your team and behind the scenes, just producing a lot of content, blog content, other resources to help them. Must be still full operations for you guys, keeping dealers informed.
Yeah, that's a great question. Thanks, Todd. So we really have thought about it in multiple categories, right? How to maximize the assistance to our customers. And we really leveraged our dealer advisory council in order to get their feedback. So that specific example that you gave of the shutdown list, that came from one of our customers in Las Vegas, where he said that the governor made a decision and within 16 hours, they had to shut down the dealership. And he had to sit there and think through everything that needed to happen in those 16 hours. So that prompted us in that case to put together that list. But really, when you think about it, what we've done is provide a set of videos every week to our customers, giving them advice on how to handle COVID. We've issued a list of checklists and white papers on different themes, like, for example, how to maximize the service drive. In most areas of the country, the service drive is still open. And so those are opportunities to convert those customers into sales opportunities. So we provided that. We've increased significantly the number of webinars that we've been providing. So we've been providing every single week, 3 to 5 webinars per week, training on different topics. And then one that I'm really excited about, Todd, is we started seeing that we had some extra capacity within our team because our model pre-COVID was to spend all of our time on site. Now in a virtual world, we had a little bit of extra capacity. And so we were able to take that capacity and create a virtual business development center and start making calls on behalf of our customers at no expense to our customers at all. But we've been averaging about 100 to 150 hours of calls per day, setting appointments, about 1 appointment for every 10 calls. and then about half of those are converting into car sales. So it's just our way of providing an extra value add to our customers. And we're seeing a couple of key consumer behavior changes that have happened during this process. Number one, people are willing to take our call, have the conversation. People have been very responsive from that perspective. Number two, people have become very comfortable in this digital world. And so, we in this industry have been talking about digital for a long period of time. Well, this whole process has really been accelerated the past 30 to 40 days. And so now we see people very comfortable doing the entire transaction digitally. And then finally, just operating in the remote environment, having the car delivered to them remotely, all the documentation being done remotely. So I think that what's really interesting is the dynamic of the consumer behavior change, and then how much of that is going to stay with us post-COVID.
Well, that's one thing a lot of dealers are wondering as they adjust their own operations. Are some of these temporary COVID measures in terms of physical distancing and plastic sanitation shields, or between customers and say service advisors, for example, and sanitation protocols. But I think the broader question the industry is looking at is the industry's been trying to move towards a more digital purchase experience, a more convenient experience for service and sales. And I think as consumers get a taste for this, not just through automotive service, with a lot of businesses, whether it's their takeout food or any other service they might be using during the pandemic, I think there's going to be a really lasting impact. Do you see that in your conversation with your dealer advisory group, that this is a permanent sea change? This isn't just a temporary restructuring?
Yeah. So as we've thought through this, Todd, I mean, we've seen multiple things get disrupted over the last 10 to 15 years, right? We've never seen anything happen this quick in a 30 to 40-day process, but we've seen a lot of industries, companies disrupted. One, for example, is Blockbuster. I think if you ask the average person who put Blockbuster out of business, they would say Netflix put Blockbuster out of business. But I think in reality, and what I would argue, is that Blockbuster put Blockbuster out of business, right? There was a consumer behavior changing. We wanted to consume our video online in the ease of our home, and Blockbuster didn't make that change. So what we're going through right now is that we've seen a real compression of this disruption, but the consumer behavior has changed and will likely probably change pretty consistently, and will stay that way coming out of COVID. So this whole idea of buying a car digitally is only going to continue to increase. I saw an article or a report yesterday released by Harvard that social distancing may last until 2022. So that's a couple more years. And so as we think about turning this economy back on, we still may have quite a few consumers that, number one, don't want to go into the dealership. They want to be able to transact from home. Another cohort of consumers who purchased their car during this time had a great experience, and 2 to 3 years from now, when they need to transact again, don't want to go back to the old way of doing it, but want to continue with this new paradigm or this new convenience that they realized during COVID. So we absolutely see it. Our customers are giving us this feedback. And so back to my Blockbuster example, it's going to be critical for dealers to, be adopting and moving forward with this digital retail experience. I think dealerships in this country have been talking about it now for quite a few years, but most of them have probably not really been able to live up to that brand promise of really being able to deliver that. And that has changed. That world has changed. The consumers are going to be expecting something very different coming out of this. And so for the dealerships to not only survive, but to thrive in the new environment, they're going to be able to need to adopt to those new expectations.
Well, it's very great observations. One thing about your Netflix example, Netflix actually went to Blockbuster and asked them to acquire them, and Blockbuster refused. So, there you go. Sometimes people don't recognize the business opportunity. I think we are in one right now. For some industries, as bad as this pandemic is as a health crisis, it still is restructuring some businesses. For dealerships, they're going to want to know on the sales front, what does this look like on the rebound? Canadian dealers in particular, we talk to industry analysts who predict the impact in terms of number of vehicles sold. Obviously, as this ramps back up, your customers are going to say, okay, great, beyond the protocols and the new processes, is anyone in the mindset, or do they have an appetite for buying, new cars? And what's your sense of that as this market does rebound, and what tools might they embrace to help speed that up?
Yeah, absolutely. I think everyone's trying to figure out, right, is this going to be a V-shaped recovery? Is this going to be a U-shaped recovery? That's what we're all, looking into and studying the data. But first and foremost, people are buying cars today. They're not buying cars at the same level they were 45 days ago. But, I share with you all the appointments that we're making for our customers. 50% of those are turning into car sales. So, we have customers that are down, 20%, 25%, but, in some cases, they're not down the 80, 90% that you see in some areas. So consumers are absolutely still buying cars today. And I know that there's a prediction in the overall SAR that it may be down, 3 to 4 million in North America this year. But we absolutely do see that there's going to be a good rebound. There's demand. I've got customers, Todd, that have 100 dealerships, and they say that website traffic today is equal to what it was a year ago. So as we come out of this pandemic, the economy starts to recover. Absolutely, we see that there'll be a demand, and would really, really encourage customers to start thinking about their reacceleration plan today. That's one of the pieces of content that we're working on to help our customers. We gave them a roadmap on how to shut down the dealership. But now as dealerships are opening back up, New York opened up yesterday to start selling virtually. They need to be thinking about how are we going to open up and reaccelerate coming out of this. So, we're creating content and tools to help the market get ready for that.
All right. Well, that definitely will be a piece of content people will be looking for in the near future for that. So, well, thanks for sharing your insights with us today. And I applaud you and your colleagues for continuing to provide really valuable resources for dealers through this crisis. We're finding from our dealers that we're talking with, they're not really in the mood to be sold to right now. They need help. They're trying to manage their operations, and all the advice to manage through sort of an unprecedented situation like this is appreciated. And I think they'll long remember the people who stood by them during this and made a difference. So thanks for sharing your insights and your resources with us today. We'll continue to steer dealers towards our website and towards resources such as yours in the future. So,
yeah. Well, thank you very much. Like you pointed out, we have a complete resource page on our website. So if they just look at resources on automotivemastermind.com, we've created, quite a bit of content out there. And again, that's for the entire market to help them really, optimize and do their deliver the best results possible during this. So we'd welcome everyone to take advantage of that content. And I'd just wrap up by saying thank you very much for your time today. It was great spending time with you this morning.
All right. Thanks, Andrew. And stay safe and stay well.
Yeah. Same to you. Have a great day.
Okay. Signing off.